When I first started working out, like a lot of people, it was to look better, be more confident in myself. But in reality, this just did the opposite. I fell well and truly into the trap of not just caring about how I looked, but obsessing over it. And this actually accomplished the opposite of what I originally started working out in order to do. I'd spend hours on social media seeing the top 1% of the fitness industry and their genetics, constantly comparing myself, obsessing with building muscle and having this weird fear about losing my gains. And instead of fitness enhancing my life, it was just controlling it. So obviously the inevitable happened. I stopped training pretty much altogether. I stopped making progress. Working out became an afterthought to everything else going on in my life. I gained weight. I even developed high blood pressure at the age of 22, probably due to a combination of existential anxiety and just being generally out of shape. My confidence dropped to the lowest it's probably ever been, and everything else in my life suffered. I was working a job I hated. I was living and working in Australia at the time, which should have been an incredible experience, and looking back it still was. But instead I just felt homesick, directionless, unhealthy, and to be blunt, like I had almost no future. But I didn't really know what to do about any of it. So I ended up moving back to the UK in mid-2024, and maybe somewhat coincidentally went all in on kettlebell training. I ended up losing a bit of the extra weight. I started this YouTube channel and ultimately got my confidence, motivation, and a sense of direction back. Now, before I properly get into this video, the title is actually a little bit misleading. Of course, I still do care somewhat about how I look. I think there are huge advantages that you get in life from having a base layer of muscle, being relatively lean, and I still obviously want to have a triangle-shaped torso. Those things are still true. However, I no longer obsess about any of it. Since starting to train exclusively with kettlebells, my mind has been somewhat set free from the downward spiral of obsession about looks and constant comparison with others. I'm not going to say kettlebells are the sole reason for this, but I do think that they were the catalyst. So in this video, I want to talk about kettlebells, why I credit them with a big shift in my life, and how I think that they can potentially impact your life as well if you're watching this. Minimalism, simplicity, and efficiency. Kettlebells get a bad name amongst other fitness enthusiasts, and I can see why. If you go on Reddit, you'll find all kinds of, goofy looking exercises that I'm sure are fun and beneficial for the people actually doing them, but as someone looking in from the outside, just make you go, what the fuck is going on here? However, when I stuck to the simplest possible movements, here's what that shift in my training style did for me. Well, firstly, I no longer had to worry about what exercises to do. I stuck to, at the start, kettlebell swings, goblet squats, rows, push-ups, occasionally pull-ups, cleans, and a lot of presses. And you can train your entire body with just these simple movements, and it didn't really require any creativity. I'm not a very creative person at all. I like things to be a bit more structured, a bit more repetitive even. I don't mind if it's boring. I just want to know what's going on. What am I doing? I didn't really even have to have much willpower. I didn't have an excuse anymore. The kettlebell was already in my house. I didn't have to drive anywhere. I didn't have to queue. I didn't have to do anything except pull out a mat and start working out. I didn't even have to pay for a gym membership. And once you bought a kettlebell, it's yours forever. Secondly, I could work out in as little as 10 minutes and still feel like I got an amazing workout. And I couldn't do this when I was isolating different body parts at the gym. And then thirdly, when I started training kettlebells in the simplest form possible, I was naturally incorporating cardio and muscle training into one workout. Over the next year or so, my blood pressure has reduced by about 15 points, so that now it generally hovers around the 118 to 125 range instead of the 135 to 140 range that it was about 2 years ago. And I can make an entire video on this if anyone's interested. But ultimately, the fact that it was so simple, so almost minimalist, and it got my health back in check was a big reason that my mindset started to shift away from how I looked, more into how I felt. Focus on movement, not on body parts. You've probably noticed that when you hear gym bros talk about their workouts, they talk about them as muscle groups. It's chest day, or it's shoulder day, or it's leg day. And when I started using kettlebells, my mindset shifted away from training muscles to instead training movements. It's clean and press day. It's full body conditioning day. It's squats and rows day. And I can't say for certain that this was the only reason for the switch in my mindset and the beginning of me getting my sort of mental and physical health back on track. But this coincided with a fairly natural shift away from caring about how I look to caring about other stuff. Am I getting stronger at this particular movement over time? Do my joints and muscles feel more flexible? How's my energy throughout the day? What is my overall disease risk? Am I becoming more powerful? Is my grip strength improving? Do I feel less anxious about things that used to make me anxious? What's my blood pressure like? Do I feel capable of completing almost any physical task that life could throw at me? I could go on and on for hours, but the point is, the way the fitness industry is set up now is not to promote physical and mental health, longevity, well-being, progression, or actual fitness. It's set up, whether deliberately or not, to make money off insecurity. So my goal with this channel is to show people that fitness can actually be about fitness, and I hope we can get that together as a little micro kind of community. Fitness should not be about money grabs, obsessions with physique, body dysmorphia, or capitalizing on insecurities, but actually about being a fitter, healthier, better, more confident, more vibrant person through simple but effective exercise that you can do from home. So I'd love to hear about your experience switching to kettlebells, and if you haven't yet made the leap, comment any questions and me or someone else within this little channel community will respond to you. Thanks for watching, see you next time.